welcome to Vancouver Entertainment Magazine. I'm your host, EJ Love. Today I'm interviewing Ian Alexander Hibbert. What is it? You are a software
engineer.
Software engineer from here in Vancouver.
Yeah, I'm actually from Toronto. I moved to Vancouver 2 years ago.
All right. Welcome to the show, by the
way. I'm glad to be on. It's a big surprise.
Yeah. How
I expect this today.
Well, man, thank you for filling in and coming in and being with us today.
Yeah, of course.
Talk a little bit about yourself, brother. Let's get inside the blood and guts of what you do and how you do and how you feel.
Okay.
All right. So tell us a little bit about your growth here.
About my growth. Oh, man. Where do we start? Do you want to go all the way from the back?
Well, you can go from the back to the front, to the front to the back. I'm versatile.
All right, let's start with, I guess, where I am right now. Currently, I work as a software engineer, and we started transitioning to working from home.
Okay.
So that has, kind of blown my mind in some ways because it's no longer 9 to 5.
Right.
And I'm trying to get out of the mentality of, I have to work from 9 to 5. But now I realize, I'm the creator of my own life now.
Right.
Right, and I get to choose where I want to go and what I want to do.
Right.
And I find that very interesting. So one of the things I'm always developing is my health. I'm always working on my health.
Okay.
Because I'm a big believer in that your brain and your body are connected, right? It's not if I don't need to eat healthy or, they're separate, right? Some people think that, I don't need sleep. I can just keep working.
Right.
And that's how the hustle and that's how you get better. But what I realize is that everything you do is connected. So every day I work on my body. I try to go for a run or try to, I guess, free my mind and my body.
Okay. Okay. Now you said the mind.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work with you? How does that you and the body and the mind? How do they work together?
How do they work together? It's kind of like a conversation with yourself. For example, when you work out, some people they have this conversation in their head. It's like, it's so hard. I can't do this. Why am I doing this? Right. And what you speak is what becomes true. Right. If I tell myself, I can't do this. This is so hard. I don't want to do this. What do you think will happen? Right. You're going to become what you've, I guess, prophesized.
Sure. You are what you eat.
Yeah. Big believer in you are what you consume, especially when you consume media content and food. To me, there's almost no difference because you become what you put in.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And expound upon that. How does that translate into your everyday life as far as you becoming a software?
Oh, right. So software engineering is an interesting topic because it requires a lot of focus. I wouldn't even start a project or a task without having at least 20 minutes of complete focus because it takes a while to. It's kind of like you have this maze in your head that you need to figure out a solution to a problem, right? And you can't stop. Anytime somebody interrupts me during my problem-solving times, it's like I jump out of this world that I created in my head,
right?
And I'm like, okay, hello, where am I? What's going on? So how this connects to your body and your mind is that I noticed. It's actually how I met Guy. So I started doing jiu-jitsu.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
So during my work, this sounds crazy to people that I tell to because they're like, "How can you take 2 hours off for lunch and go to gym?" Right. And something I experimented with is that I would go to work and I'd probably work for an hour until 1 o'clock was the jiu-jitsu time, and I would go from 1 to 3, and that sounds like an insane break because who gets a 2-hour break during work time? Right, people would, like my parents or my friends would say, what are you doing? Right? But what I realized is that every single time I would work until I got stuck. Then I'll go to jiu-jitsu, and it's a completely different world. You're being attacked, literally. You're like, oh my God, don't choke me. Right? It's a whole different world.
Right.
But what that allows you to do is to diffuse your mind. So there's 2 types of thinking. There's a directed thinking and diffused thinking. Directed is more like when you're solving a math problem, let's say 1 + 2 + 3 + blah, 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 and you keep going. You have to focus on that one thing, right? But there's a point where you get stuck in programming where you need to take a break. And this is where it gets very interesting because your mind works in the background. It solves the problem in the background.
Okay.
And that's where jiu-jitsu comes in. So while I'm being attacked, physically, I'm no longer thinking of, how do I solve this? Whatever problem I was working on for software engineering.
Sure. Right.
But when I came back from jiu-jitsu, the problem Instantly solved.
Yes.
And to me, that's crazy because I wasn't thinking about it. I was thinking about not dying. Okay, so long story short, that's why I work on the body and the mind because they feed into each other.
Wicked.
Yeah.
So
the more you work on your body, the healthier your body is, the healthier your mind is. So the more focus and energy you can have.
Right.
And to me, life is all about energy. When I first met you, when you first walked in, you're like, hey, what's up, brother? And I could feel that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I totally 110% agree with you. Now, how does the transition from being in Toronto to Vancouver, how has that been for you, the transition?
Oh, man, it's night and day for me. So I say Toronto because it's what people know, but I'm actually from Markham. See, that's why I don't say Markham.
Okay.
So you can think of, you've lived in Vancouver for 26 years, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You can think of Markham is the Richmond of Toronto.
Oh, okay.
Right? So I grew up around a lot of Asian culture. Like all of my friends are Chinese, and I'm also Chinese. So
Oh, really?
Yeah. So in Markham, it's kind of flat, and it's nowhere as beautiful. When I first came here, I had no idea what Vancouver was about. I'd never seen it before. I just knew it was a nice sunny place on the West Coast.
Right.
So when I was flying in, I saw mountains, and to me, that just blew my mind.
Yeah.
I was like,
yes, lots of mountains.
I don't think I've seen mountains in my life before until I flew across here.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's just like one thing. That was probably 4 years ago.
Right.
And to me, I still have that image in my mind. But for the difference is just lifestyle. I think people here are more, they're slower.
Yes,
You
much
know,
slower here.
Slower, more chill, but I think the nature aspect to Vancouver is what I guess keeps me here.
Right.
Right?
Do you find it being a little slower? Because that was kind of interesting transitional problem I was having because I'm up at 3 a.m. and I'm ready to work. Here, they don't get really up and moving until about 10 or 11 o'clock. Then it's time for lunch, and then it's time to go home. So, how much work is really being done in that short time span here? And I found that to be kind of like my problem with this city. It's like, I'm up. Where is everybody?
Exactly.
Oh, okay, I'll reach them in 7 hours later, But, yeah, so you understand what I'm saying, right? It's kind of like that. But being that as it may, you do slowly, amalgamate yourself into this system here. And once you do that, I mean, the world's your oyster. You just kind of find your way, like the maze you explained earlier. Is that the same way for you? I mean, has it been that for you?
I guess when I first came here, so now I walk really slow. But when I first came here, I'm like, what are these people doing? Because in Toronto, it's kind of like you race against each other.
Yes.
In terms of not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
One thing I did notice is that everything closes so damn early.
Yeah.
It's like 9 o'clock and I want to get some food.
Yeah.
I guess McDonald's is open.
Yeah. Well, you have to kind of go for your own after 8 o'clock. Yeah. It is like that here. It really is. But be that as it may, you have made a niche here. You have found your niche. You say you have your friends, your connections here have all, come together in this time.
Yeah.
Has it been really good for you now since,
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's been a long time coming, though. When I first came here, when I heard from other people is that Vancouverites are very cold and distant. Like, they have their own, what do I call it? Cliques? Yeah, that's what they call it. Right? So something I find very interesting is that all of my friends and all the people I meet that I talk to are not from Vancouver.
No.
Even yourself here.
No one's from where. No, we're all from
Exactly.
somewhere else. And I think that kind of is why people are in pockets instead of amalgamating yet, because we're unsure of each other.
Yeah.
We're a transient city. So what I mean by that is that people don't, what they don't know keeps them apart. And that they move so frequently, they never get a chance to really get to know each other.
Yeah.
So, you can hide behind the software and type your life away to someone else or your story away. But what really initiates anything is human contact. And that in itself, in the midst of COVID, has more separated us than ever now, or kept us apart. So, I mean, do you understand what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
You know, but the human gift of a smile and saying hello. I come from a town where we wake up and we wave across the street at Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Johnson's waving at us, and Ms. Johnson's got something to give us to give to my mom, and that's you don't
Sounds
have
so wonderful.
you don't have that here,
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. Maybe someday, maybe after COVID is over, we'll assimilate that sort of lifestyle, and it will bring us together. But do you find that is a true connotation of the way things are here?
Of course. Yeah.
And it is rather sad in its own idea that we are one here. We are a tapestry of color and spectrum here, and it needs to find itself to become closer. I totally wish that we would become tighter through this, and but there seems to be a constant pull of cultures and systematic ways of living. Yeah, back to you, man. I'm sitting up here making speeches. What is it? How has it been for you, really, though, in software and working and becoming part of this fabric?
You know what I find interesting? You said back to me, but I much prefer to talk about what you're talking about right now. Like software is like, yes, whatever.
Yeah,
but
we'll talk about it then. Let's go.
Human connection, what you said earlier about how in your old neighborhood you say, hey, Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Johnson, hey.
Right.
And you give each other these things. When I first came here, I was afraid to say hi to people in the elevator. Like you wouldn't really look at each other.
Right.
Right. And I've always been starving for this kind of community and human connection because I didn't really have that growing up. So what I learned to do is that it's like what Michael Jackson says, if you look in the mirror, you have to be the change you want to see.
Right.
So what I've started doing is it took me like a full year to do this, to be able to say hi to someone in the elevator and hi to someone walking down the street and just smile to them. And what I've noticed is my world is opening up because I smile at people, people smile back at me. And it seems like the world, at least in my world, is getting nicer. So I kind of want to spread that to other people.
Sure.
So that community that you're talking about, say, hey, Mr. Johnson, right? I think we all need to do our part in it.
Right.
And it's scary. Like for me, like I said earlier, I was shy because just growing up, I got into the software industry. And it doesn't help to not talk to people and talk to computers.
Right.
But what you said about human connection, I think that's the whole key for at least life for me. What makes me fulfilled is to find people and connect with them because I think we're all searching for that.
Right.
And my mission now is just this. When I run down the street, sometimes like I try to act like by myself. I don't try to act differently.
Right.
But sometimes I run like this, like all crazy and stuff, and I start like skipping and jumping. But the beautiful thing is, I've seen so many people smile because of that. Because I think deep down, everybody wants that kind of freedom, I guess, to express yourself and not be afraid of what do they think of me.
Well, there you go. That's the thing too. I don't worry about what people think about me anymore. I really don't. But I do.
Yeah. I tell myself that too, but
I don't care what you think, but when I go home, I really do. I do care what you think, and it is important that we connect, and it is important how you feel about me, and the impression that I give off, and that I am an open person, an encompassing person, and I have more to me than layers than you realize, and. Yeah, man. So I agree with you totally. I mean, it is one of those things now that I think all of us should be very focused on is coming together. And as far as COVID can, draw us away, we still need to be somewhat together here. But Ian, you were saying too. I want to go back to the martial arts and how that played a part in your. Development. Yeah. Talk a little bit about that for even the young guys out here.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Let's
see. Well, I first started probably as a teenager. Probably a decade ago.
Okay.
In Markham, my uncle introduced me to Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. Before, I had no idea what fighting was, but you see it on the movies where they're like, and they throw each other and all these kind of crazy things.
Right.
But I think one of the biggest things I got out of that growing up as a kid was I was no longer afraid. Okay. Like I said earlier, I was shy and I was very reserved.
Right.
I guess. And it's because I was a part of me was afraid to express myself and be, I guess, who I am.
Right.
But what martial arts did for me was it gave me that confidence to know that no matter what happens, I'll be able to defend myself.
Okay.
Right. Also, it's good for exercise, but
Yeah, but from the mental
from the mental
aspect
aspect.
of the philosophy of the art itself, outside of the physical,
Right.
The mental, what the language that it speaks outside of the physical that we see, there's something else going on.
yeah.
Speak to that, please.
Oh, interesting. I believe that it brings out another side in us. It's like a warrior side. I think that everybody has to, I guess, to be not afraid to do anything, and take risks, to know that you'll be okay. So something I learned taking jiu-jitsu was that there's this thing called a white belt spazzer, something like that.
Right.
But I didn't understand it until I got out of it. So what happens in jiu-jitsu is that you are literally in a fight for your life.
Right.
Right. You're not going to get hurt because we're just playing around and everything is safe there.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference is that your body and your mind don't know the difference yet.
Right.
Right. So when you get in that situation, you immediately start to panic.
Okay.
Because you go into that fight, freeze, what did I say? Flight mode, right? Where you're kind of on autopilot and your body says, I need to start, somebody's trying to kill me. It's very weird to see because I think logically, rationally in your head, you know you're not going to get hurt because everyone is friendly.
Right.
But there's a side of you that is instinctual. It says, well, I'm not going down this way. Right? So
Choose a different path.
but what I found very interesting from that is that it allows you to deal with stress.
Right.
Right? Because
Right.
we live in an uncertain world.
Right.
And you can't control anything that happens externally.
Right.
But you can't control what happens internally. Something like COVID, for instance.
Yes.
Right. Could you have predicted that, something
No.
like this will happen?
No.
Right?
No.
Something outside of your control, people start panicking and they start getting afraid of
Right.
the unknown.
Right.
But the thing is, life is unknown and you never know when you're going to go. But the thing is that you are in charge of your own self.
Right.
So what jiu-jitsu has allowed me to, I guess, realize was that it helps you deal with the unknown, the uncertainty in life. And it makes you calm in the face of danger.
Wow.
Right? Because if you're not calm in the face of danger while you're practicing jiu-jitsu,
Right.
you're screwed.
You're leaving yourself
Yeah.
open to a
Yeah.
lot of things.
Exactly. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, listen, Ian, it has been a blast. I want you to come back with us and sit down and tell us
Oh,
more.
definitely.
I appreciate having you, brother.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Right on. Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Blessings, man. Yes.